to present the culturally diverse origin of India and abroad. We will represent the linguistic richness and folklore melodies of India, as well as an international popular song that binds our faith together. Hope you will all enjoy. My sincere thanks and gratitude to one and all. We start our program. The first song is Ami Banglaয় গান গাই। আমি বাংলায় গান গাই, আমি বাংলায় গান গাই, আমি আমার আমি চিরদিন এই বাংলায় খুঁজে পাই। আমি বাংলায় দেখি স্বপ্ন, আমি বাংলায় বাঁধি সুর, আমি এই বাংলার মায়া ভরা পথে ভেবেছি একটা দূর। বাংলা আমার জীবন আনন্দ, বাংলা প্রাণের সুর। আমি একবার দেখি বারবার দেখি, দেখি বাংলার মুখ। বাংলা আমার জীবন আনন্দ, বাংলা প্রাণের সুর। আমি একবার দেখি বারবার দেখি, দেখি বাংলার মুখ। আমি বাংলায় কথা কই, আমি বাংলায় কথা কই, আমি বাংলায় ভাসি, বাংলায় হাসি, বাংলায় জেগে রই। আমি বাংলায় ভাসি, উল্লাসে ভাসি, বাংলায় হাহাকার। আমি সব দেখে শুনে খেপে গিয়ে করি, বাংলায় চিৎকার। বাংলা আমার তিক্ত স্লোগান, তিক্ততের কলম। আমি একবার দেখি বারবার দেখি, দেখি বাংলার মুখ। বাংলা আমার তিক্ত স্লোগান, তিক্ততের কলম। আমি একবার দেখি বারবার দেখি, দেখি বাংলার মুখ। আমি বাংলায় ভালোবাসি, আমি বাংলাকে ভালোবাসি, আমি তার হাত ধরে সারা পৃথিবীর মানুষের কাছে আসি। আমি যা কিছু মহান বরণ করেছি বিনম্র শ্রদ্ধায়, মিশে গেল নদী সাত সাগরের জল, গঙ্গায় পদ্মা। বাংলা আমার তৃষ্ণার জল, তৃপ্ত শ্রেষ্ঠ। আমি একবার দেখি বারবার দেখি, দেখি বাংলার মুখ। বাংলা আমার তৃষ্ণার জল, তৃপ্ত শ্রেষ্ঠ। আমি একবার দেখি বারবার দেখি দেখি বাংলার মুখ Our second presentation. মাঝারে রাখিব ছেড়ে তোমায় জিন্দায় রাখিব ছেড়ে বলে ছেড়ে দিলে সোনার গোলার পাবো না একা ছেড়ে দিলে সোনার গোলার পাবো না ছেড়ে তোমায় মাঝারে রাখিব ছেড়ে তোমায় মাঝে রাখিব ছেড়ে দেব না, তোমায় যতনে রাখিব ছেড়ে দেব না, তোমায় হৃদয়ে রাখিব ছেড়ে দেব না, তোমায় হৃদয়ে রাখিব ছেড়ে দেব না।
Thank you so much, Mr.
Our
Chaudhary.
last presentation is an international song. So this is our last presentation. This is based on an international song. There comes a time when we hear the sun call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. It's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere soon make a change. We are all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the truth. We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. Oh, sell them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free. As God has shown us, by turning toes to bread, that we so must lend a helping hand. We are the one, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. Just you and me. Oh, you and me. Oh, you and me. You and me. Thank you once again to all. On behalf of Belgria Shahana Music School, we have presented this performance. Once again, my sincere gratitude and thank you to all the members.
Thank you. Please, we would like each one of you to introduce yourselves. Please tell us your names.
I am Kumar Mukhopadhyay.
Myself, Sangeet Mukhopadhyay.
Myself, Pratima Mukhopadhyay.
Thank you all for this opportunity, and we'll love to do sometimes again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you. And it was absolutely lovely having you here. Wonderful start to our evening program. And with that, wonderful beginning. It's now time for some serious discussion. And the topic for this evening's discussion is disruptions in learning ecosystem. Could it have been better? There's a lot under this topic that needs to be discussed. So we will not waste time, and I will hand it over immediately to the moderator for this evening session, Ms. Ratna Biswas. But before I hand it over to her, just a quick word of introduction about Ms. Ratna Biswas, and I would leave it to her to introduce the other panelists. Ms. Ratna Biswas is the principal of Garden High School, Aizer, Kolkata campus. She has done her master's in biology and a bachelor's in education as a professional. She's into teaching for nearly 2 decades. And Ratna has received the prestigious Fulbright Fellowship as a high school science teacher and taught in a US public school at California for a term. She achieved the prestigious accreditation as Global Teacher from the British Council and the Best Science Teacher Award from the National Academy of Sciences, India, NASI, for her action research work on enhancement of critical thinking skills through alternative ways of teaching in high schools. Ratna has also worked extensively as a teacher trainer in both national and international levels and achieved the D.D. Kosambi Award for Mentoring Teachers from the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, TIFR, Mumbai. And it is my absolute pleasure to hand it over to the able hands of Ratna and request Ratna to take it over from here. Ratna.
Thank you, Rahul. Thanks a lot for your kind words of appreciation. Good evening to all of you. Good evening to honorable panelists. Good evening, good afternoon, and maybe good morning to August audience, some of which are watching this virtual program across the globe. The Global Summit 2020 has given us a wonderful opportunity to test our coefficient of resilience. The virus, when stopped the entire world, the educators, they didn't stop neither functioning nor dreaming big. If the children could not reach the school, the educators, they make it sure that the school reaches each and every student wherever they are. Even if there is a divide, educators tried in their very own way to level that gap. To level gap in every aspect, socioeconomic, causing digital divide, or a learning gap related to cognitive difference amongst each child, educators across the world over these 10 months have tried and tested various ways to make sure that the learners are not deprived. If COVID-19 has given us some benefits, then maybe this is the best benefit the education world has derived out of it. That first of all, it gave us scope of introspection. Across the globe, educators, they started networking amongst themselves. And very surprisingly, it was found that the problems, the challenges rather, I'll say, not problems, were almost similar across the globe. Maybe the degree or percentage proportion is different across different nations, but it's never something totally absent in some part of the globe or something absolutely different out of the world kind of a thing in another part of the globe. So once more, though in a different way, we realized that the world is flat. We realized that we are truly, truly together in our thought, we realized that we don't only teach subject, we go beyond subject. We treat every student with all its uniqueness, and we teach our students. We don't teach curriculum, we go beyond that, and we make sure that our children gets the benefit. And most importantly, while doing so, we got rejuvenated. The entire education system and the educators who found March 2020 a threatening time, now in December 2020, can sit together and say, yes, we have embraced the challenge. And yes, we have done this much. With that note, we will start this evening, where I have honorable panelists who are educator leaders, or rather leader educators. Each one of them are leading institutions, and some of them are administrators who are fixing the policies, who are actually formatting the policies of the government, which needs to be applied maybe in next few sessions and also during this pandemic time. India chapter has yet not been able to send me the exact brief bio about all the panelists. So I beg the pardon. I might not be able to introduce each and every panelist in that way, but definitely I would love to hear the wonderful, wonderful activities each of the panelists have done and about their achievements. All of them are achievers, and that's why they got the invitation by the GEIST. With the note that we found the entire system coming almost to a stop in the month of March, and then how everything was won over. Education, the process of delivering lectures, doing co-scholastic activities, giving students the mental support, nothing stopped over these months. How did it happen? And how each leader made sure that it may happen in their each institution is the story of the evening. We have today with us panelist Dr. Anuradha Das. We have with us panelist Mr. Haban. Both Dr. Das and Haban, Mr. Haban, if they are representing the educational heads, if they are the educational heads of two different institutions, we have Mr. Shamarendra with us as representative of Government of West Bengal. He is one of the officers in the Department of Education. We have Mr. Hira Lal from Nepal, who is leading another institute over there. From the government-aided West Bengal board schools, we have Sharmila Majumdar and Kaunish Guha. And the galaxy will enable us to know how each and every one of them took the challenge and get over it. I will request each of the panelists to keep the discussion as in the free flow model. If you have any kind of presentations with you, then I will request you to keep it limited to the slides of max 3 to 4, because we have only 1 hour and little more given for the panel discussion. So each panelist will get a time of 6 to 7 minutes to share their views. And we will try to stick to the time so that by the end of the discussion, we get some 15-20 minutes time to make the session interactive, to take questions from the audience, and to clear if they have any doubts or queries. Also, I would request each of the panelists to introduce themselves by 3 seconds, maybe, not more than that, 3 to 4 seconds, a very brief introduction, because otherwise we will lose time of this important discussion. We would love to more than just to know about them. To start the evening, I would request Dr. Anuradha Das, Director, Garden Heights International School, Chief Academic Advisor, Shatikanto Guha Foundation, an academician, and also member of a very prestigious team from India who was invited by United States to visit their country, their education system. She visited also many schools and other institutions in Europe and Asia. A little more about yourself, ma'am, if you say, because this is just a very brief I could tell about you. Over to Dr. Das, ma'am, just introduce yourself. And
Yes.
if you kindly share how you addressed this particular situation and how you pushed your entire team to get over it. Over to you, Dr. Das.
Thank you, Ms. Biswas. You know, you've said a lot of things. I don't want to further introduce myself. Can I be heard? Can you all hear me, please?
Yes, ma'am, sure. You are
Are
heard.
you audible? Okay.
Yeah, you
I'm
are audible.
Yes. After what you have said, I have just one thing to add. I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I'm a mentor. And I'm 64 years old, so I claim to have seen quite a bit of life.
Right.
And I have learned a lot from the people I have met, the people I'm meeting, which includes my students. Every day is a learning experience for me. Okay. Now, you have asked me to talk about how we have handled the difficult situation that started in March and what we are doing now and my ideas of it. You see, when March 2020 came, suddenly schools stopped. We were at the end of the term. Some were going to begin the term. Some were just before the annual examinations in March, and we couldn't do that. So we just stopped. Now, of course, it was a very, very stressful situation. We were continuously thinking what to do, but never at the cost of safety and security of students. So we prohibited them from coming to school. And what we did was immediately started taking online classes. Now, initially, we were following the school timetable. Our school timetable, this is an international school. We are affiliated to the British boards. We do the IGCSE, which is grades 9 and 10, the board exams at the end of grade 10, which is equivalent to the Madhyamik or the ICSE or CBSE. We then do the A levels, which is the +2 British system, and we are affiliated to the London board, which is called Edexcel these days, and the Cambridge board, the CAIE. Now, we could not take annual examination immediately because, you know, we were still grappling with the idea which platform to use. So we took some, you know, we were all used to WhatsApp. So we did WhatsApp group calls in small groups. If you remember, in March, only 4 people could join, and then gradually it became 8 people. So we took them in small groups to take oral examination to, you know, somehow finish the grade that they were in. For the grade 8s and the grade 9s, we finished the March examination. And well, children did pretty well. They didn't know that this was going to last so much. They thought it was a very exciting new experience. And most importantly, definitely, they knew more than us when it came to the smartphone or IT facilities. So it was sort of a role reversal. We would get stuck and they would edge us out. They would tell us, do this, do that. They would help us. And we gave them that opportunity and the position to, and we make them feel that we have to learn from them also. So the students helped us in the process, and we managed to do our annual examinations through WhatsApp mainly. Then came April and our session had to start, and we started. But when we started the session, we realized, and I realized that timetable was a big, big problem. Now, we administrators who plan things much ahead finish our timetables 2-3 months in advance, and everything is set for the new term to start. Now, we had given admission to students from all over the world who were planning to return and join the new session. In an international school, we have students joining from different countries throughout the year. But some parents, especially Indian parents who are coming back, choose to come back in a way that they could be here from the beginning of the session, from
Right.
April, so that they will be prepared to take board examinations in the school with the school rhythm. So we had given them admission. They had paid up. Their positions were sealed. They were our school students, but they couldn't return. So some of them were in England, a few in the US, some in Dubai, some in Singapore, and they couldn't come. But we had to start our classes. Because you see, in the international system, in the international board, unlike the Indian system, we do not take board exams. They don't do board exams at the end of 2 years. Their board examinations are spread over 2 years. We sort of divide and distribute the load over 2 years so that they don't feel stressed, number one. And number two, if they haven't performed well, there is a scope to retake some papers of a subject. You know, it's a British system like they have for their chartered accountancy and all that. So that scope is there. So there are exams every 6 months, board exams. So for the new 11s who joined in April, they had board exams coming up in January. For the students who went up from 11 to 12, they had board exams in May, June, and also in October, November. So we couldn't just say we will not take classes. We had to take classes. Again, we started with WhatsApp group classes. By that time, WhatsApp gave us opportunity to have 8 in a group, so we divided the class in groups of 8. Thankfully, international students, international schools have limited class sizes. We'll be blacklisted if we have many. So we had small sizes, which we further divided. Then we started using Zoom, and then finally Google Meet. But from the very beginning, we did all our classes online. I mean, we didn't gradually come to a state. We, from day one, we plunged into it in a way where if a teacher had 24 lessons in a week, she was taking 24 lessons in a week. But the problem was the time zone.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Dr. Das, that you said you had students staying at UK, staying at Dubai, staying at Singapore, as well staying in Kolkata. So how exactly you handled this situation? You know, in different times.
Yes. So what I did was I shifted the school hours by 2. So instead of the IGCSE, the 9 and 10 classes starting at 8, they started at 10. And instead of the A-level classes, that is grade 11, plus 2 classes starting at 8:30 as per the normal timetable, we started those at 10:30. What happened is because we started at 10 and 10:30, students in Dubai could attend easily because there's a 1.5 hour gap. But students in Singapore, okay, they started later in the day and they finished later. But students in England, what did they do? So although we started at 10, it was before 6 o'clock over there in England. So what we did was, our students choose subjects. So for the students, there were 2 students who were there. We shuffled the timetable, readjusted in such a way that those students' classes were later on in the day. Now, it was very difficult. It's not as easy as it may sound now, because for you to make our utilization look good and to make our school financially viable, we utilize teachers in a way that they teach IGCSE and A levels. So you just can't change one timetable for one class. When you bring about a change, everything changes for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because the teachers for 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 are more or less the same. So everything changed. So this shuffling had to be done. And that is a head's job. That's the most challenging part of head's job. And although
What
it's a very democratic way of doing things in our school,
I'm
but in
just
this
going to
respect,
say that.
I just said I'm the boss and we'll do it. So I readjusted the timetable so that those in England, their choice of subjects, their subjects started later. So instead of 10, they started at 12. So it was time for them to wake up. The sun had risen in England and it was okay. So I did that. And those who were in Singapore, they finished later. They finished at 8, 10 at night. We explained this to the students, to the parents.
Right. I was just going to ask that. What kind
Lot of talking. You see, what was our choice? We either do it or we don't do it.
right?
Now,
A
if
lot
you
of
didn't do
personal
it,
skill. You had
if you explain and if you do a lot of talking, basically a head's job is counseling students and teachers and parents. If they understand, if they feel secured with you, then there is no problem at all. So you
one.
have to gain their trust. The problem was that, for students in Singapore and UK, for these different time ranges, if they had the same subject, so how will we offer them? Supposing physics, shall we offer it at 10 or shall we offer it at 6 o'clock or at 12 o'clock? Where we just couldn't adjust, some were sitting in the US, their teachers had to take the lesson twice at 2 different times of the day. I've been very fortunate to get a very, very good and understanding group of teachers. Of course, I had to motivate them. Of course, I had to talk to them a lot. And, they saw that even I was doing it. That's the advantage of being a teacher myself and just not an administrator, because you set these examples yourself and then they understand that it's doable, that they need not worry, because I was also doing it.
Excellent.
Yes, so we were doing this, and we did this because we've had our October, November exams in school, board exams, and now we are going to have our January exams. And mind you, for our system, there are no study leaves that they will study at home. Private tutors are not available. We are their school tutors and private tutors. So we do it all. It's like a second home. So and the motivation level went up so much with the students. Ratna, a few days back, the students of my grade 12, class 12, couldn't manage, they were having different subjects and different tests, so I couldn't manage to get a common time to sit and discuss 2 very important topics that they wanted a revision on one day before the exam. So I told them, you decide. Whenever you are free, I will make myself available. We all teachers do that. And you give them that responsibility, they will come up with a solution. Whereas if you try to impose a solution on them, it's not easy. But when they arrive at a solution, they discuss, you give them this responsibility, they feel important, they feel responsible, and they do a good job of it. And this is what they should do, because things are changing, the world is changing. And when they had this, they asked me, Dr. Das, we found a common time. Can you teach us? But it's going to be difficult for you. I said, when? They said 10 to 12 at night. I said, of course I'll do it.
I know.
If I cannot give you a better arrangement than if you've given, I accept it.
Yes,
so there was a sense of involvement. They were the ones who consented. So this is the way we have functioned, and it has worked well.
To hear your story, I know, because once I called you up, it was 10:30 at night, and you said, I'm now taking a class. I can only talk after 12 a.m. I said, okay, fine. Then I just,
You
booked.
will be amazed. It's not just about me. It's about all my teachers. With my exams officer, and her job is very difficult now. The exams officer. All my meetings are post 12 o'clock. With the dean,
Yeah.
sometimes it is so early, say 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock. When we finish our meeting at 5, we sit and wonder whether we are finishing our day or starting our day. Shall we say good night or good morning? It's
I know.
peculiar, but we're all doing it. And it gives us a sense of fulfillment. People might ask, don't you feel tired? It's all a state of the mind. We have learned to sleep whenever we get time. But teachers are taking different time zone classes. So how do I get them for meetings throughout the day? Meetings have to start at night. Now, it may sound peculiar, it may sound abnormal, but I'm telling you something that we are doing it and it's working well, and nobody is unhappy doing it. For the first time, we didn't give them any summer vacation. The entire summer vacation we worked. Now we are taking our vacations. Why we worked is because when we started taking online classes, we saw that we were not reaching our target in the lesson time. So a 40 minutes class was taking an hour. A 1 hour A-level class was taking 1.5 hours. We were also trying to give a little break between screen times, not exposing students. So we were doing that. So obviously our day was longer. But that is why we took classes throughout the summer vacation. And trust me, nobody complained. If parents feel secured, if they can trust you, then there is no complaint at all. We've done it and it has worked well. It has
Well,
worked
it's
very well.
unbelievable story. It is. I mean, something. It really happened in your institution, and
It's
I
still
know,
happening. It's still
I
happening.
know, I know how much you worked with each and individual teacher, student,
Yes, yes.
parent.
You have to keep their motivation level high, to
I
keep
know,
talking,
I
keep
know.
counseling
Yes,
them. Yes,
yeah,
you
yeah.
have to talk and you have to talk and you have to talk all the time.
Right, right,
But
and
that's
also.
okay. If the result is good, I'm prepared to do it.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to interact with some of your teachers also in between. None of them sounded tired or burnt out. That was really, really fabulous. Something to know. Ma'am, I'll get back to you later because I have something more to ask you. Thank you for this wonderful session of telling us the story, how you achieved what you wanted to during this disruption.
My team achieved. My team
I
achieved.
know. You were a number one team person.
Students, teachers, parents, everybody worked
Yeah,
together.
you put all the stakeholders together. That's why you could win over such situation. Definitely. I will get back to you again with the suggestion that is what could have been better. So now, for the time being, from Dr. Das, I will like to move on to our next panelist, Mr. Escote Hubban. Mr. Escote Hubban is principal of Pitago High School, Makati, Philippines. Good evening, Mr. Hubban. Are you
Good
there?
evening, ma'am.
Yeah. So
Am I clear in there?
may I request you to just give a brief introduction of yourself for a very brief introduction, and then if you kindly share your journey through these days of pandemic, your institution, your team, and how have you achieved the target that you wanted to. Stage is yours, sir.
Yeah, I'm Alexander Aban Escote. I attended the second Global Summit in Education in Kolkata, India last year.
Right.
And I
Met
think
there.
I met you in there.
Yeah, we met there. You were in the panel discussion and I was chairing the panel. So we met
Oh,
there.
yeah. Yeah. Nice seeing you again
Same
after
here.
a year
Same
or
here.
so. Yeah.
Nice seeing you.
Yeah, I'm the principal three of the Pitogo High School, which is the City of Makati Science, Technology, and Engineering School. Dr. Sabayachi Mahondar was my classmate in the University of Alabama in Huntsville in 2010 when we were sent in there to attend the international leaders in education program. And we just saw each other last year after 10 years. And this is the reason why I'm in here now, because of him in the GEIST International Foundation. Presently, I'm on my third school. First was Tibagan High School in the same city. Second was the General Pio del Pilar National High School. And I am on my fourth year as school administrator, though I spent 6 years as head teacher of the Makati Science High School English Language Department years ago. We're about to wrap up the fourth quarter of the last quarter of the school year, last school year, when the COVID-19 pandemic uh, erupted our educational system in the Philippines. At the time, we're supposed to administer our fourth quarter examination, but because the Philippines was placed under ECQ, or the enhanced community quarantine, where everyone is not allowed to go out except for those who are frontliners, we were forced to shut down schools. And the last thing we did is to compute the fourth quarter grades of our students based from their first quarter, second quarter, third quarter grades, and the performance tasks and the written examinations that they had in the quarter. And so our teachers and our students stayed home by themselves for 3 straight months, not doing anything but to wait for the opening of classes. But of course, before the opening of classes, which was supposed to be in June, our teachers spent their times attending webinars, attending educational technology lessons in order for them to prepare for the next school year. School in the Philippines was supposed to open in June 2020. But then again, the Philippine government and the Department of Education thought otherwise and moved to the opening in August. But then again, because the situation did not improve, we pushed the opening of classes on October 5, 2020. So that's like staying at home at the safety of their homes for like April, May, June, July, August, September, 6 months, almost 7 months before we open the school year. Opening the school year in the Philippines was not that was really really hard. It is because the use of educational technology in the Philippines before the pandemic was not yet that maximized. If there's one thing that the pandemic brought us, or if there's good thing that the pandemic brought us in the Philippines, is the use of educational technology to the optimum. But before the opening of classes, we did the necessary preparation. We had to take a look on our curriculum, and we shortened the curriculum and named it into the most essential learning competencies. We took a look on the most essential learning competencies, and we prepare our self-learning modules, and our modules were stored in Google Drive. So our dilemma at that time was the learning delivery mode that we'll be using. It is because our students, while it is true that we are in Makati, which is the financial capital of the Philippines, the economic situation of our students are not the same. And so we were at the middle of, you know, of thinking whether our learning delivery mode would be pure online or self-learning module, or the what we call blended distance learning, which is opposed to blended learning. And so we were directed by the central office and the schools division superintendent of the Philippines, no, of the division of city schools of Makati. We we use blended distance learning, and in the Philippines we define blended distance learning as a combination of online learning and the use of self-learning modules.
Well,
Am I still
so
here being heard? Yes. Yeah.
yeah, no, you please share it. I have a question
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. So our dilemma of using this kind of modality at first was overcame because of the strong support of the local government, who printed all our self-learning modules to see to it that our students will not that no one of our students would be left behind. And so while
Oh,
our students were training on the use of Google Classroom, on the use of Google Meet, particularly, we had a backup that while some of our students would not be able to attend online lessons, whether synchronous or asynchronous, because of some economic reasons, they would not be left out, because all our modules in Makati were printed by the city government. And as of now, as of more than 4,000 students we only have like 42 students who opted to make use of our of who opted to make use of pure module, and these are being assisted by our coordinator for distance learning, seeing them that they are actually doing their thing during the self-learning process.
it's wonderful to know that government took that much of initiative, because digital divide is now so prominent. It is prevailing everywhere, and teachers and institutions are struggling to solve this digital divide in their own capacity. It's nice to know that your government took it up and they started giving printouts to the
Yes.
students, those who cannot. So, how did the students get the printouts? Like, say, they had to come to school to collect it, or you had to dispatch it through the postal system? How exactly students
Yeah.
did it?
Yeah, actually that was our dilemma early on. How to distribute the self-learning modules. It is
Right.
because whether you are doing the pure module or the blended distance learning, you have to get your module so that you have a guide, because we were not using our books or textbooks anymore. What we did is to schedule the distribution of modules by grade levels, by section, by the hour, by with an interval of 1 hour per section, and it's the parents getting the modules of their children. So if there's one thing that this pandemic give to us, prove worthy among our stakeholder, is the strong support of parents to
Right.
the education of their children, supporting to the notion that the success of every student lies behind the strong support of every parent. So it's the parents or the guardians piling up
Right.
for the
Kind of
self-learning
making a
modules of their
portfolio,
students.
kind of making a portfolio of whatever you gave and what they did. It's
Yes.
wonderful to know. It's wonderful to know all the stakeholders of the school community, and of course, government is also a part of it for the government schools. took it very seriously, and wonderful to know that no child was left behind, something very, very unique, because rest of the world is really struggling on that, this digital
Yes.
divide and how to get
Yes.
over it. Wonderful to know this particular thing from you, Mr. Haban, and so much of hope still there that digital divide is not the end of it. Maybe there is some light at the other end of the tunnel. So thank you so much. I'm keeping that as a point to be noted from your talk, that there is always, always, and always some hope by the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
uh, from Mr. Haban, I would now like to move on to another speaker from India, a very veteran person, and who has and expertise in teaching of several years, none other than Dr. Anil Sharma. Uh, Sharma sir, I would like to invite now as a speaker. Sharma sir, very briefly to say a few things about him. He is the education officer of Vavan Schools, New Delhi, India. He was also former principal and assistant commissioner of Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, India. Professor Sharma was very, very versatile, is very, very versatile, and he did a lot of work as a principal wherever he went in different KVs. So
He's a national teacher also.
yeah, he was the recipient of National Award from President of India. We are really lucky to have Dr. Sharma over here as a speaker. He has been here with GIST right from the day one of this time's summit, and he has shared his valuable thoughts and stories with all of us. Once more this evening, it will be a pleasure to get you over here, sir. Dr. Sharma, I would request you very briefly if you can introduce yourself, because you have quite a few new faces over here this evening, and then would eagerly wait to hear from you, your views, opinion
Namaste.
over this period. Thank you so much, sir.
Namaste. Am I
Namaste,
audible?
sir. Yeah, you're audible, sir, but your video.
I'm Dr. A.K. Sharma,
Yeah, sure.
and I'm working in the field of education from since 4 decades, associated with the Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan on the different capacities as principal, teacher, as assistant commissioner, and now I'm associated with Bhavan's group of schools as a education officer. So basically, I'm a learner. And it's a privilege to be associated with the GEIST as a learner, where I'm learning many things on this platform. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for selecting such a nice topic. I'll come to a different aspect of this. I'll come to the socialization.
Sure, sir.
Socialization makes a great institute. If you take the case of army and see how army cadets are trained, they are selected, young boys are selected through IMA and NDA, and they are getting training to be an officer. You know who is giving them training? Havaldars. Havaldars are going to give them training, and these Havaldars make them officers. And sometimes these officers used to think that let me go out of this NDA, out of this academy, and when this trainer will come to my regiment, then I'll see what is he. But when he gets the commission, at that time, that officer used to salute to that person, to that Havaldar who has trained him. So this is a socialization which makes a great institute. And what happened? Suddenly, there is a collapse of this great institution in the education. And suddenly what happened that this socialization break down. Teachers and taught were separated. My one of the panelists has said, Ms. Dr. Nora Das has properly said many things. But you see that it is the human touch that is very necessary and that we are missing. You all agree with me that the human touch makes a difference in the education process, and that we are missing. So now come to my point. The Ratna has said introspection, networking, and challenging. She has said about 3 points. I'd like to add one more point, that the challenges are converted to the opportunities in this COVID-19.
True. Absolutely.
And every teacher is a COVID warrior. In India, we used to say that the teachers are the COVID warriors. So every teacher is having his own story.
Right.
Every teacher is a hero. And I
Yes.
salute every teacher. There are so many unsung heroes are here. We are fortunate enough that we can tell our story. But there are many. I was listening to the story of Mr. Rahul in the earlier session. I
Yes.
was
Yes.
deeply touched and deeply impressed by the way, I mean, he was expressing it.
Yeah. He
So
was
they
so
are,
much emotionally absorbed while talking about that particular incidents, you know.
yes, he was absorbed, and I was looking to him. He was very much disturbed also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is not happening with one, it is happening with all. At times we are broken, we are frustrated. So very, very important thing is that we should take care of our teacher. Teachers are working for 12 to 18 hours. Classroom has been inserted, classroom has been penetrated in their bedrooms, because they are having only 2 room set. They are not having, I mean, so many big bungalows, and they are working there. So they also have effect on their mental state.
Yeah, we will come to that definitely.
And by taking the screen time, as Dr. Anuradha Das was saying, that we are giving gap to our children so that they should not suffer from this screen. I tell you that in the month of December, I have conducted a study with the doctors of AIMS. At that time, we were not familiar that this sort of thing will happen. And this study was conducted to know the effect of internet on the school-going children and what addiction can bring to our children. I was surprised to see that results were very shocking. 3 out of 10 children were internet addict in Delhi. We have conducted this survey on 20 schools. And addicted means that they cannot live without the internet. And screen time were very, now what we are doing? We are saying we are increasing screen time more and more, and our children are going to be addicted. So anyhow, so now we are coming to next is the change. You are asking what we have done. For any change, first teachers are uh, very comfortable people. They want to come into 10 to 5 or 10 to 4. But this COVID has changed my perception. Now teachers are not 10 to 4 service. Second of all, the teachers were living in the comfort zone. They don't want to come out of their comfort zone. But this COVID-19 has shattered this belief that teachers are living in the comfort zone, because they have broken this one. Teachers have come out of their comfort zone. Now, if you see the change, one of the matter that assists the change is ability to innovate. During this COVID, the teachers had innovated themselves for so many things. I mean, I have seen many teachers who used to resist in the use of technology, saying, we cannot use. I'm the man of Sanskrit. I'm the man of Hindi. How can I use all these things? I don't know Hindi typing. I don't know the Sanskrit typing. But the same teachers are now doing all these jobs proficiently. and very quickly. They have developed their own apps. It's very surprising to see that how the teachers are interacting, with the children. So the perception of the change is totally changed. Teachers have changed this perception. They have enough courage to break these sort of perceptions. And collaboration, innovation, and transformation. These three, as you have rightly said in the morning, I was looking to your discussion also, that these three are the key points for the change.
Yes, sir. I said that. So it's really, really nice, the points you touched upon. Uh, as we said in the morning also, the educators are no more only educators now. We are really the entrepreneurs who need to be innovative, who need to be energetic, and who need to go beyond their comfort zone. Very, very true. So the disruption has given us a lot, undoubtedly. So what do you think are the things which, if we would have done, then we could have handled this situation in a better way? What will you like to suggest?
I always say, not from today, I always say when I was a teacher, I have updated and upgraded myself when I was a teacher. I have learned computer in 1993.
Oh my God.
When it was just started. And I have seen the computer generation 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. So I always say my teachers that constantly update and upgrade yourself. Otherwise, the day will come when you will be out of the system. So the first thing I'll say that every teacher should remember that they should constantly update themselves, upgrade themselves. And nowadays, so many facilities are there. I mean, you can join any MOOC course, you can join any Future to Learn British Council course. So many courses are there. So don't leave alone. Join some courses, interact with the people, collaborate with the people, innovate with the people, and share with the people. So this is the only key. And I feel that this upgradation and updation brings all the things inside that. And ultimately, after COVID, we have innovated ourselves, we have updated ourselves, we have upgraded ourselves.
And we will not forget, definitely, this lesson COVID has given us. We are not going to forget it.
Definitely. I would like to add one more thing that you have said about entrepreneurs. I said the teachers are now edutainers.
Yeah, it's the hybrid of it.
I have seen the teachers, they were making cartoon films. I have seen one teacher in my school that they were making, she was making cartoon film for the children, and children were very happy to see the cartoon film. So I said that it's a very good theme for the this edutainment. So teachers are also going to be edutainers now. And I'm finishing it. The last thing I love most is that this webinar was not possible.
True.
It is only possible. Only possible. We are meeting with Rahul. We are meeting with Ratna. We are meeting with Alfred. We are meeting with Alexander. So many people we are meeting together at one platform because of this COVID-19. It has brought these challenges into the opportunities. So thank you very much, Ratna.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. For bringing a lot of hope and showing us the silver line time and again, as you always do in your session. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma. So moving from Dr. Das to Mr. Haban to Dr. Sharma, now the time has come to know what government is also thinking. So we have here a very honorable panelist, Mr. Shamurendra Roy. He is also a TEA fellow. I would request Mr. Shamurendra to introduce himself. A very brief introduction, maybe Mr. Shamurendra Roy. And Shamurendra Roy is now working with Government of West Bengal under the Department of Education. So as Dr. Das spoke about some points, about, continuous talking with the teachers and students and parents so that, we can distribute the classes in different time zones in a proper way. Of course, I'll get back to ma'am about the mental health because a lot of questions are coming in the chat box. I saw what about the mental health status of the teachers and all. We will definitely get back on that. Also, we heard from Mr. Haban that what government did over there, in Philippines, so that no child is left behind. We heard from Dr. Sharma by this time how much more teachers are pushing themselves. Each time they are pushing the bar up, and that has been a huge gain of COVID-19 to us educators. So over to you, Mr. Shamarendra, if you can tell us what exactly the policies or strategies you see coming up for us to maybe make us also a state where no child is left behind. Over to you, Mr. Shamarendra Roy.
Thank you, Ratna ma'am. As I have been told to introduce myself, as he has already mentioned, I'm a former TA Fulbright Fellow of 2014 and a former struggling teacher in one of the remotest part of West Bengal. And the job that I really enjoyed for 10 years from 2005 to 2015. And since 2015, I have been in this job presently. So I wish I could just tell you some words of hope, like my previous panelists. The way we manage the schools in the government-run schools, particularly in West Bengal, is quite different from the way the private schools are managed. So actually what I have to do, I have to manage near about 4,009 schools in my districts, including the primary, upper, and more than 7 lakh students. So it was when the pandemic was announced and the lockdown was imposed in 28th of March this year. So we faced lots of problems in managing the school issues. We had lots of queries from the school teachers. Actually, as for me, the biggest harm that the pandemic has caused to our school is to damage the school culture. So what do I mean by school culture is to quote from Sri Aurobindo that nothing can be taught and everything has to be learned. So what do we learn from the schools? If you take my point, I would say that whatever we learn is reflected in our character shaping and our personality shaping in the days when we grow up. Now, if we just look back in the days of our school, we will just remember and we will just count that how much the school has shaped our personalities. So that is the damage that this pandemic has caused to the students, particularly in the government sector, where only 23% of them had the smartphones to access the online classes, which and there was, unfortunately, there was no such initiative on the part of government of West Bengal, except some TV channel classroom arrangement or so. My other headmistress and headmasters in this panel, like Sharmila is here, I can see her, and others, they know much better than me what happened really actually. So if I actually
doable practically, true. I agree to completely. The socioeconomic situation in districts are totally different. Sharmila, we are happy she's here as a panelist. Whatever socioeconomic picture she gets in Calcutta, probably your district socioeconomic picture is totally different.
Quite different.
So every district probably has its own pulse. We have Khonish Guha also from North Bengal. In other districts, probably he could give us some idea about how things are happening over there. So we have to really accept what is actually happening so that we can benefit from that. We can plan out things and bring out something. In earlier session, we learned from Rahul, that how things are happening in Northeast, and also we learned from Nurul Islam Bhai that how wonderfully Bangladesh has handled it for the district of Rangpur. So those, for that reason, these platforms are made. We need not to feel sorry about it, because we are actually dissecting it, observing it like we used to dissect a toad in the lab. It's just like that. We are dissecting in a very non-judgmental way, and we will like to see that as educators, if we can contribute something to get over whatever difficulties we are still having with us. Yes, Shamarendra, maybe I'll be giving you another 2-3 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So I was talking about the school culture. I will just cite an example. If we can call up, it was the lone Nobel recipient of Pakistan was Dr. Abdul Salam. And we all know the story that he came in search of his teacher to Kolkata, where Anilendra Gangopadhyay. He was his teacher when he was studying physics in Lahore College. And he took his Nobel just medal and gave it to the teacher and said that it is yours, sir. So that is the culture that the school teaches us. Irrespective of the school that we are studying, be it the government school, be it the elite schools, be it the local school, whatever they are. So here the school develops a relationship with the and a liaison with the community, and this connection between the community and the school has been greatly hit. So as for me, what we have, when we started is conducting a survey in the month of May or June this year. So what surfaced is that near about 20 to 30%, or the exact figure was 27%, of the schools of my district, they have taken some initiative in for online learning through WhatsApp groups. And the mobile signals are not quite strong in all the places, particularly in the remote area. So where it was not possible in that way to go for the synchronous way of online teaching also. Even the students, they didn't have a smartphone. Plenty of students that didn't have smartphones. So what we have done in this situation is that with the permission of my higher authorities and in the district, we have recorded some the teachings of some eminent teachers in our district, and we have posted in the YouTube video channel of our.
That's very, really useful. That's really useful. I believe we will get a chance to hear from Sharmila and Konish also, something like that. I'm sorry, Shamarendra, we are.
Can I have just 30 seconds more?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I have an appeal to all of you who are present here that what we need in future is the collaboration between the government school and the private school.
Absolutely.
We need to bridge the chasm that has been created in the last 1 or 2 decades, and to exchange to just undergo the exchange programs between the government school and the private school and the elite schools and the good schools like the KVs and the Navodaya Vidyalayas. And that's what we are working upon right now in our district, to just arrange a bridging between this kind of 2 categories of school. And we believe that this will bring some positive result in future. Thank you all.
Wonderful to know this particular approach from an administrator. This is something, everybody I'm sure will look forward to, and will give us a healthy educational environment or ecology, whatever you say, in future. Looking upon that particular handholding someday. But if you all are thinking in that way, then definitely, sir, on behalf of private school head, I can say, definitely we all will come forward, and maybe someday we will be able to work hand in hand. Thank you so much, Mr. Shamarendra Roy. From Shamarendra Roy, I swiftly will go to Mr. Hiralal Iyer. Mr. Hiralal Iyer is principal of a school in Nepal, that is Gaidakot English School. Over to Mr. Hiralal Iyer. And one gentle reminder, we have another session at 6:30. I would request each of the participant and panelists, if possible, to stay glued over this Zoom so that you may have the keynote speaker's speech. Professor Ujjal Kumar Chaudhary, Pro VC Adamus, will give the keynote speak right from 6:30. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ratna ma'am, and namaste to all of you from Nepal. It's my privilege to be in this GEIST program. last year I was physically present in University of Adamas to share my experience regarding what we did during COVID-19 pandemic. Actually,
I think uh, Mr. Hiralal Ariel is having some internet problem. Yes, sir. Sir.
hello,
Yes, sir.
am I
You're
audible?
yeah, you're audible
Okay.
now.
I'm sorry for the inconvenience. The internet is fluctuating. So all the final examinations, we got the instructions from the government that all the final examinations should be preponed, and we had to pre-schedule all the final examinations 15 days earlier than the actual schedule. And then the board examination was meant to be started in mid-March, and the government has announced the exam has been postponed until further notice. And in that scenario, we were in dilemma. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what message we can give to the students, when we will be able to publish the results of those examinations which were taken in rush. And it was really very terrific situation. All the population, that might be in urban, rural, everywhere, everyone was terrified with the fear of coronavirus. All the children, they were taught like what is coronavirus, and it is death. Like the children were terrified with the concept that coronavirus will take many lives. So there was a kind of like psychological terror in the children. And what we did in that situation is, our prime focus was just to keep our students engaged in some kind of learning, as the students should learn with their age, no matter whether they will be able to come to the school or not. That's why we made some plan to provide some engagement tools to the students. That's why we started a kind of contests. We said lockdown contests, whereby all the students would get engaged in the household works, some life skills, and those life skills can be shared in the social media like Facebook, so that we can run it as a contest. So that it was a great help for the students to have a good mental health at that moment, because they were engaged in some kind of learning. It might not be like academic learning, but they were learning some kind of life skills. The government of Nepal was actually not deploying any kind of education initiatives for 2 months, initial 2 months of lockdown. But there were many institutions, privately run institutions, which were taking initiatives on their own. So to talk about the initiatives we have taken three types of initiatives. Like, we have taken high technology initiatives, in which we started running online or virtual classes. We kept our students engaged in massive open online courses. And then at the same time, we ran some low technology solution as well, in which we started developing some radio lessons, so that we can broadcast some radio lessons, so that even the less privileged group can get benefit
That's
from those
great.
radio
That's
lessons.
great.
And then at the same time, we developed some television lessons as well. And at the same time, we have started some technology free initiatives as well, in which we developed the worksheets, or we developed some printed materials, and we started dispatching those printed materials going home to home. And we are based on suburban area. It was kind of easy task for us, but in the remote areas of Nepal, the students remained without being thought actually. I don't think they had any opportunities of learning as well. In doing that, we had many difficulties or many challenges. It was very difficult for us to make sure that all of the children were not left behind. We started surveying where our students are, and we were not able to reach some of the students. We couldn't help them. And that was the situation. We were very sad. Actually, we couldn't ensure equity of learning to each and everyone. And actually they are out of touch till now. And it looks like they will be drop out in this session, which is very sad thing for the country like Nepal. The most challenging problem was the parents struggled to juggle their own jobs, learning how to be a homeschool teacher and manage internet connection and managing devices, because not all of them already had devices. So we had to struggle. We had to motivate them to connect in online classes. And it was very difficult for all the parents to make them understand that the alternative ways of learning also are as strong as the traditional face-to-face learning. It was a big challenge for us. And our infrastructure wasn't developed. There were bandwidth issues, there were electric cutoff issues, and we had to struggle a lot. We were able to reach to most of the students. We reached almost more than 80% students, and we ran the classes in online mode. So at the same time, we were juggling, supporting teachers to develop themselves, to upgrade themselves. And what I felt is we were not ready, or we were not proactive enough to tackle such kinds of situations. So technologically, all of our teachers were not equipped. All our teachers were not trained enough to prepare PowerPoint slides. And we used that opportunity to train our members of staff to be able to produce slides, PowerPoint presentations, so that they can use those resources in the online classes. And what I felt is our teachers could learn very quickly, and they could prepare the wonderful slides. So from that, the learning is, there is no age bar to learn. Only the situation need to put us in a situation where we have to learn. Sometimes I would say this pandemic situation has given a lot of hard time, but it has given us so much opportunities as well. The most important thing is critical safety net couldn't be maintained. In the context of Nepal, in most of the community schools, the government provides them nutrient food, emotional support, protection. Obviously, we were able to give them some kind of education, but many children were out of school and they couldn't get that nutrition. And most of the children stayed at home, and we don't know how many children were suffering from a kind of domestic violence. So those were the challenges. And if I have to talk about what could have been better, we could have thought about those things. We could have taken some measures on that thing, and we could have collaborated with, in the context of Nepal, there was no collaboration between Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health. Actually, there should have been good collaboration. There should have been active emergency planning groups within the Ministry of Education, so that that emergency group could give us some recommendations. From the government level, there should be some production of some materials, but actually we didn't get those things, enough support. The government wasn't giving enough instructions. After 4 months, only the government of Nepal has announced all the students should get connected to the alternative way of learning. And this is how we're struggling. And at the moment, we have been running our schools. Recently, it has been 1 month, we have been running our schools face-to-face. And all the children are quite happy to be connected to each other. And that's the brief explanation of our experience and of this difficult time. And
Thank you
thank you
so
all.
much. Thank you so much, Hiralal sir, giving us a very, very clear picture about how have you faced the very, very shocking five initial 4 months, and then slowly, slowly how we tried to win over loads and loads of challenges. It is, true that India, Nepal, Bangladesh, probably we belong to the same category of socioeconomic status so far as polarity in the society is concerned. Economically, we have got very, very polarized situation. And what you said, that equity in education, that has been the biggest challenge. That entire bubble has been bursted during this COVID-19 case. There have been teachers who really had to struggle to get the devices. There have been students who had to struggle to get the devices. And very, very demotivating it is to know that the dropout rates has also increased. It has happened, it is happening, and maybe we will see it happening more in India once everything becomes so-called normal, once schools reopen and we get back our students. Almost similar kind of picture Shamarendra also gave us about the district schools in West Bengal in India. Thank you so much, sir. So from Mr. Hiralal Iyer, I'll now love to move on to our next speaker from Bangladesh. And I will request him if he can give us a free flow presentation instead of a PowerPoint. Our next speaker will be Majbauddin, who is head teacher, Panchgram School and College, Monoharganj, Kumilla, Bangladesh. And just to say a few more things about him, he is one of the very, very, ardent member of GIST, who are extensively working to make this summit possible. Welcome to Majbauddin. The floor is yours, sir. Only thing is a gentle reminder, we are really running a little short of time. We have extra 5 minutes. So, sir, just a mild request. Start.
Thank you so much. Greeting to you all from Bangladesh. I'm very much feeling so honored and happy to have you all in this summit. So actually, this is a great moment that still we are passing through that this pandemic situation. Almost we have been said that the scenario of all the countries of this subcontinent are almost same, and we are also face such kind of problems, and especially to connect our students to the learning processes was really difficult and challenging. As I belong to a school that is one of the remotest areas of my country, so it was very difficult for me also as an administrator, as a principal, that to connect our students and to continue the confidence of our students that in this pandemic situation, hello.
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Okay, can I continue?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So okay. It was very difficult for us to continue or to engage our students in the learning process. When in the mid March, our school has been closed, and at first earlier our students and guardians are afraid of this pandemic, that we can die or we can be fallen the death if we can be affected with this. So our education ministry at within very short time they have started the online classes through the national television. Now after couple of weeks, education ministry has understood that this is not sufficient for our students, that everybody cannot this online process is not reaching out to all the students, and especially to the students of remote areas. So some of the teachers, that earlier our Anil Sharma sir has mentioned, they are the real unsung heroes. And they have started from their personal effort to take the classes through social media, I mean Facebook or other medias or YouTubes. They have started their online classes and taking the classes from their home. Uh, that that was really fabulous, and that was very effective for our students, especially you all know that how much devastating this coronavirus or this pandemic have done for us. We all know that all over the world. So I can remember a story of one of the giant ship Titanic, which was sunk in 1913, and after the sunk of Titanic, then there are some reforming has been done. Also, this in this uh, pandemic, we have learned something new, and we have faced something new environment or new situation we have to face. So it was a bit challenging for a head teacher to connect all the students I earlier mentioned. So what we have done in this time, we started uh, to make the students, and especially to go their home, and to create the groups of students. And we arranged some of the students that they they're making groups and they could watch our classes from the online process. So that was the very effective, and also it was very challenging for us to boost them, especially they have psychologically they have really broke down their confidence that we don't know when our school will be open or when we will go to our regular classroom culture. So as the headmaster or as the administrator, it was very important for us or very significant for me uh, to keep continue this, and also to encourage our teachers that yes, everything will be okay, and we have to go to the students main, we have to save them, we have to do something for them, because they have been already mentally they have been disrupted a lot. So
True,
it was
true.
very difficult for us.
Nice to know that, Majwaddin, sir, you told your team to reach students, and you tried in that way to give them the mental support. Very, very much needed. And another thing you said, those who stay nearby, maintaining the minimum protocol of distancing, to be together, and one device at least could have been used to take up the classes. Wonderful initiative, undoubtedly. And regarding the government school pictures, we have an eminent speaker waiting here, Sharmila. Sharmila is a TEA fellow, Fulbrighter, and Sharmila is head of one government school in Calcutta. I would love to hear now from Sharmila exactly similar kind of situations, how she is handling. Over to Sharmila now. I would love to hear from you. Sharmila, the stage is yours.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you. Sharmila, are you here?
Hello. Yes,
Yes.
can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Is it clear now?
Yeah, you're audible. Absolutely.
Yes. Hello, Ratnadi. Thank you so much. And good evening to everybody here. I see a lot of people here, many faces that I know, many who are new. I've been a teacher for the past 22 years, and with a lot of experience, I can say that this year has been extremely new, and it has been a wonderful learning experience for me as a teacher. I have been the headmistress of a school for a short time now, but what I have learned in the last few months is that I am the motivational speaker 100% for 24 past 7 for the past 10 months. Because without motivational speaking for each and every stakeholder that is part of the school, nothing works. That is number one. Being a government school, as you all know, that there are very few hands and very few people who are in the support staff. The headmaster has to look into everything. And there is understandably a lot of work to be done in situations such as this. I'll tell you the day that this pandemic started, that was 23rd of March. It was suddenly announced with the board examinations class 12 and 11 going on that day itself, that the schools will be closed indefinitely. On that day, we completed the examination with hundreds of children being in our school, coming from other schools, their parents just coming in from everywhere, not knowing what is going to happen. And because the television was announcing certain things, that 24th March is going to be lockdown in India, and from that day onwards, it's going to be so. So as the head, I stayed back in school till 10:30 in the evening, and not only completed the task of sending each and every child back, sending all the question papers and answer scripts and everything back, but we also had to stay back and give the midday meal for the month. As you all know, in India, we have a project called the midday meal, in which cooked food is served to children in school every day. But with the lockdown coming in, it was not a possibility that the food could be served on that basis. Hence, it was immediately decided by the West Bengal government that food supplies will be provided to the parents every month. And for that day itself, on 23rd, we procured rice, we procured potatoes, and by 8:30 in the evening, every parent had been informed, told that please kindly come to school today and collect the rations for the month, because tomorrow whole of India goes to lockdown. So as I think this was a big achievement that we teachers all did together on that day, with the board examination going on in school, with police posting in school, and all the turmoil that was going on. So
And that
from
was
23rd,
just beginning of
that was just the start. That was just the start. We didn't know what was coming ahead.
Shamina,
So
I'm sorry to
yes,
interrupt. If you have done so much, you just can give
yes,
us rated,
yes,
because
yes.
very little time we had, and I don't want to miss listening any of your points. Yeah.
Okay. Very briefly, I would like to tell you that in the past 11 months that we have had experience, our schools are still not open for students. Although, as the headmaster, as the headmistress, all of us have been going to school every day, uh, even within the lockdown, because without us, the school doesn't function. So we have been in school. Also, we have been in front of the computer, teaching the students, teaching the children. It started with the teachers first. So from 24th to 28th, bringing the teachers onto the same platform where they could communicate with the students in every possible way online. So that, and then asking the teachers to communicate with the students. The achievement for my school is 100% of the teachers were able to do and were very happy to do what was asked for them. And they are now all proficient in what they are doing very, very successfully. Unfortunately, we could not bring the parents on the same page, I would say. It is very unfortunate that the children and the guardians who come to our school are not very much into the fact that how much education is important for them. And we have had such incidents as a large majority of our girl students who we never thought would have this situation have been married off by their parents. Let's remember, they have been married off by their parents because they did not want to take charge of the children anymore.
Yes,
So this has been something which was unprecedented. There have been incidences where we have had children coming to us through telephones and telling us that we don't have any smartphone in our home. How do we go about it? So I've had to call up their neighbors or somebody from their Pada community and asked those people to arrange a phone for the child such that they can go to this person's home and for an hour in the week study there. So these are things that
What an initiative.
we have done that completely. Even today, I have done it for a class 11 student who was going out of touch, and finding out who she is, why this is happening, and doing it on a regular basis. So communication and making communication at all levels, at all times, and making it flexible has been a major, major important point. Introducing many things for the emotional well-being of the child, not only the child, but their parents, where the parents understand that education is important for the kid and it is very important to be in the schooling system, has been something that I've been doing continuously. motivating not only the teachers but the parents regularly, so that they do not allow their students, the children, their wards, to go out of the system. The children have been easier to access. The children have been much more easier to talk to, but it's been the parents who have been very, very difficult. And as you all know,
it's always nice, Sharmila, really to hear from you, because you say something which you really, really have done. But I'm very, very sorry to cut you short brutally. We have one more speaker and we have keynote speaker waiting. Sharmila, maybe another session, another platform, we will talk more about it. Wonderful, wonderful hearing you. My next speaker will be another headmaster from North Bengal, Mr. Konish Guha. Over to you, Mr. Guha. I believe the picture will be very, very similar to Sharmila. So in continuation to what Sharmila said. Konish Guha.
Rahul, একটু ইয়ে করে নাও।
Before you start, may I just announce to everybody that our next speaker, Mr. Ujjal Kumar Chaudhary, is already here, and I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you, Dr. Chaudhary. We are in fact all waiting to listen to you, and it is also an opportunity to invite each one of you here present now to continue to stay and listen to Professor Ujjal Kumar Chaudhary. He's a prolific speaker. Those of you who were with us in Kolkata last year have heard him. Those of us who were in the inaugural session yesterday have also heard him for a brief moment, and you know what a lovely and enjoyable session it is going to be, and what an informative session it is going to be. So, Professor Chaudhary, I'll just take your goodness and humbly request you to kindly allow our last panelist to complete, and then we are coming.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please continue without any disturbance. Please continue without any disturbance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Chaudhary. Yeah. Mr. Konish Guha. So, if you kindly share your experience.
Thank you. Okay. Ma'am, good evening. It's beautiful to be a global event organized by GEIST International. Today's session, the Indian chapter. Myself, Konish, I'm working headmaster for Chaudhary in the northern part of Bengal. I work in school run by the government of West Bengal.
Mr. Konish Guha, can I suggest one thing? I think you have a bandwidth problem. If you can kindly switch off your video and leave your audio on, I think we will be able to hear you clearly. Have we lost? No, he's there.
No, he's there. If you kindly put your video off, Mr. Guha.
Yeah. Just put off your video. Put off the video, keep the audio on. I think it's a bandwidth problem. So there is enough bandwidth for audio to go through.
Audible, sir?
Sir, please switch off your video.
Am I audible now? Okay. Off now. It's off now.
If all of us keep our cameras off.
Am I audible?
Yes.
It's better, sir.
Am I audible?
Yeah, but still there is problem.
Can I continue?
Yeah, you continue, but will you just switch off your video, sir?
My video.
His video is off.
If we can also switch off our video.
Yep.
It really doesn't matter whether we switch on or switch off. It is his bandwidth which is a problem.
Yes.
Exactly.
Audio
Sir,
bandwidth
now
is
speak.
very small.
Yeah. So now you may speak. Still the problem is there.
Okay. This session, we topic on discussion in ecosystem in
Rahul, Ratnadi,
Yes.
রত্নাদি
Yes.
ব্যান্ডউইথ আসছে না, আমরা প্রফেসর স্যারেরটা আগে করে নি, যদি তারপরে ব্যান্ডউইথ প্রবলেম মেটায় তখন
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Let me announce that then.
Okay.
Mr. Guha, Mr. Guha,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you are audible.
Now it's better.
Now it's better. Yeah, please continue. Please continue, sir.
Okay. The thing is that in today's discussion session, we have the topic like disruptions in learning ecosystem. Could it have been better? Yeah, learning ecosystem in a school has so many stakeholders, starting from the students to the parents, with the teachers, as well as the community. Within the very short duration of my headmastership in a government sponsored school, we face challenges like we have a very varied ethnic groups, as well as students coming from a very varied economic status. When the lockdown started in the month of March, the first challenge we faced was that the parents were cut out of their livelihood. They weren't allowed to go out of their homes to earn their bread, and that put the immediate effect on the students. In the student community in my school, the one of the biggest challenges is reaching out to them, because many of my students do not have even a basic phone. So we do not have the luxury to think that okay, they have the access to internet and we can use internet technology to share the educational contents and modules to them. So in the beginning, very beginning of 2020, when the academic session started, we had our road plan, road maps, everything ready. But with the advent of this school lockdown, we had to redesign and rethink, and we couldn't stop ourselves from rethinking that what we can do to reach out to our students who cannot come to the schools. So we took help of the different available resources, educational resources, and we tried to reach them out to the students in the form of various modes. Like we took help from the WhatsApp groups. We used the television programs run by the state government, and we shared the news that okay, this program, these class specific programs are running in the TV, you can watch this. And after some time, we sat with the academy council of the schools and we planned out to empower the teacher, because that was also a hurdle for us. We were put in a situation where neither the students nor us, the teachers, were ready to cope up with. And the first thing was that the teacher should be made ready to serve the students and make themselves ready to prepare the educational content as per the need of the students in this challenged situation, in this new situation. And I am very happy to share that for our senior students, like in class 10 standard, we conducted online test even to check that how well they are getting ready for the board exams. And it was a great surprise for me and also my colleagues to find out that students who do not have access to internet or smartphones, they took help from the neighbors or their peers and classmates to appear in those online exams. And that was a biggest inspiration for all of us. And still now we are continuing as maximum as possible the online class. But still, when we that a good part of our students are still not having access to those online classes, online modules that we are sharing. So without taking much, I'll say that definitely there are disruptions, but let us not wait and take help from the other stakeholders in the community to reach out to our students so that nobody is left behind from getting basic right to education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Guha. We know the biggest challenge of COVID-19 in the educational world has been how to give equity, how to maintain the concept of equity in education. Today's discussion very clearly showed the kind of challenges we faced, right from speaker Dr. Das, Dr. Sharma, and the rest. We saw how different nations have handled the situation in their very own way. Something excellent done by some government, like in Philippines, we heard that no child really is left behind. Whereas we in India, in West Bengal, we are trying hard to bridge the gap. The words from Mr. Samarendra Roy gave us some hope that maybe a long-term partnership is coming up where private school, public school, all will hold their hands together to get over any such kind of polarization amongst the learners. We probably will be able to level the gap someday, some hope. Also for Nepal, we got the story how much difficult it has been over there to clear all such kinds of problems, to get over such kinds of challenges. Similarly, we are finding the challenges happening in each and every districts in our country also, where the government schools are concerned. So big polarization is still there. The equity yet to be achieved in that way, but some hope, some silver lining is educators are continuously thinking, trying, and also taking some kind of oath that we will get over this situation. With that note that we are trying constantly and we will achieve what we wanted to, that there will be no learning gap. Everybody will get the basic right, that is to know whatever they are supposed to in their particular age group, so far as education is concerned. With that, I would like to hand it over to Rahul, because the time for keynote speaker, and thanks a lot to Professor Chaudhary for giving us time to end up the session. Over to you, Rahul. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ratna Biswas. And indeed, it was a very invigorating session to learn from the different parts of the world and how similar and yet also how different the problems were and how they've been handled. Thank you very much. May I take this opportunity to request our founder, president, and CEO of GEIST International, Mr. Biplab Kumar Deb, to kindly come on screen and kindly welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Ujjal Kumar Chaudhary.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good
So it's nice to see you, and all we are waiting for your keynote presentation. And actually, the insight that you shared during your presentation actually always encouraging us. And on behalf of our program committee of Global Summit 2020, so we'd like to welcome you to this session. And we believe that teachers from Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Vietnam, Philippines, and many more countries are waiting here for your space, and your thoughtful space will help us to get more knowledge. And thank you, sir. Thank you for your presence here.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I now give a brief introduction to those of you who have not met Professor Ujjal Kumar Chaudhary earlier. Professor Ujjal Kumar Chaudhary is the Pro Vice Chancellor and Director of the School of Law and Justice at the Adamas University in Kolkata. He is a leading media and communication academic of India having been earlier the Dean of Media of Symbiosis in Pune and Amity Mumbai Universities, Whistling Woods International also at Mumbai, and Pearl Academy of Delhi and Mumbai. He is known for his convergent approach to media education, starting from an integrated broad-based learning to focused specialization at the top. He's a known face in the TV studios for debates and a regular writer in the Indian media. He has also earlier been employed with Business India TV, Z News, Times of India Group, WHO Media, and a lot of other places. It is my absolute pleasure and pride to welcome you, sir, and ask you to take over this session. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Such a, in a way, such a introduction, which I feel always humbled. The only correction is that I am also Dean of the School of, not of Law, but of Media in Adamas, apart from Pro-Vice Chancellor, being Pro-Vice Chancellor there. That's fine, but I have met people of GEIST a couple of times, face-to-face, and a couple of times online. And I always appreciate the way the team brings forth talent and scholars from all over the world together. It's a fabulous meeting of minds. This is one of the positive sides of pandemic. Yes, we are missing the pizza and the dal bhat together. We are missing the tea and the coffee together. We are missing the handshakes and the hugs. Everything is fine, but in spite of that, at least we are able to communicate with more and more people online and at ease with much lesser expenses. This is not the only way to do, I understand, but this is a great way to add to the physical or face-to-face meetings. Going ahead, 2021 should be more positive, should be blended. What I would like to speak here, I have just, my background has been told just now. We feel always happy if there are 3 or 4 achievements in the background, we always feel happy. But 2021 and onward, the new world of education that's emerging, the entire new normal of the world, which also includes education, which is emerging, these backgrounds are almost pieces of paper. These backgrounds are of not much worth. If I have been Dean in Symbiosis, Amity, and Pearl Academy, 90% of or 80% of what I have done there may not be relevant anymore today. This is the reality. Whatever I have learned as during my graduation or post-graduation or my research, much of it is completely already obsolete. Even the practices, so-called best practices that I did in the last 10 years, much of that is also obsolete. We shudder, we fear to accept it, because our whole glory is in that PhD degree 25 years earlier. Our whole glory is in hundreds and thousands of youngsters calling us sir and madam. Our whole glory is anywhere we go, people give the chair and call automatically sir or madam. This entire sage on the stage concept of education, concept of a mentor teacher is going to be completely obsolete. And let us start that we have to re-educate. Those of us who cannot relearn, very soon will find that we are going to be obsolete. We did not expect many of the things of 2020 which have happened. We were caught unawares. It's not about just pandemic. People's behavior is changing in a major way, and going ahead, this with the digital divide being slightly more bridged better, this behavioral change will bring forth such huge impact that many of us, with all humility, let me say, I am also above 50, and with all humility, me and many of us will find ourselves largely obsolete unless we relearn, unless I have the humility to learn from the youngsters of 20s, youngsters even younger than sometimes our own students. So this is, we'll have to begin with this thought. That's what I wanted to put before everyone. The whole concept of teacher-student will remain. I know this terminology because this is already there in so many of literature. But gradually, the teacher and student, as you know, as you have been knowing, is going to be completely obsolete. Teacher as a sage on the stage, as a last word on any educational issue, any domain, as someone who introduces the topic, the subject, the domain to a learner, to a student, as someone who interprets the syllabus, and that's the final interpretation, as someone who is evaluating, and that evaluation is the final ranking or evaluation of a student for a student's life. This whole concept of traditional teacher is completely gone in times now and coming ahead more. The teacher is now being replaced by mentor. Mentor is not a sage on the stage, does not tell the last word, not even often the first word on a particular domain, does not claim or cannot claim to know everything of that domain, is not the final arbitrator of knowledge and scholasticism or application of knowledge of the learner, is not the final interpreter of the syllabus. Mentor is a different category of or genre of human species. A mentor has a shoulder on which the learner can cry. A mentor is a facilitator. A mentor aggregates knowledge, does not consider his or her knowledge as the end of it. Mentor may not even often introduce something. It could be introduced by the learners themselves. So mentor has to create proprietary content. For the first time, we have to understand, we have to create our own videos, our own podcasts, our own PowerPoint presentations, our own new packaged learning resource for our learner. That's one side. And that will require all of us to go through relearning of technology with respect to social media, video making, audio making, use of mobile in a multiple way. The journalists are relearning to do mobile journalism, and we have to relearn to create content through mobiles and cameras and many other accessories. So this is something that we have to understand very clearly, that going by the same skill set and the same knowledge which we had 5 years, 7 years, 10 years ago is not going to help us beyond this moment going ahead. So one side is the proprietary content, the other side is the aggregated open source content. Aggregated open source content can come from slideshare.com, can come from multitude of references, PDFs, case studies, very significantly even in school level. Everything that we say or speak, so-called quote unquote teach, has to have a case study now. So we are moving to a situation where our position, by dint of position, we commanded a discipline and a respect. That part is going to be reduced in the times of blended or digital learning, because this position and its impact is far stronger face-to-face, is not as strong as that from remote. We have to understand it cannot be by dint of our age, position, height, personality, looks, whatever we could do to an extent, bureaucracy, bureaucratic power, whatever we could do, kolomer khochaye, as people say, kolomer khochaye ei kore debo, ei shei kore debo, all these are up for decline. And we are moving to a different scenario where a different category of mentors will now be in 3 to 4 years. Much of what I will tell now, but I am speaking now, may seem to be overhyped by some of you. I am sure of that. But please, with humility, let me note 2 to 3 years, and you will understand what I am saying is going to be the reality. The students are no more bothered about our PhDs and postdocs. They are bothered about how we can package the knowledge that he or she needs and communicate interestingly. How we can do that. Now going ahead, so we become mentors and not teachers. Similarly, the student becomes learners, and those who cannot move to the learner paradigm, those students will gradually move out of the system or drop out of the system sometime or the other, even if it is after 10, after 12, after graduation, whatever level, but they will gradually go out of the system. The learner is self-motivated. A student is guided. A learner starts with a given syllabus and moves on to an organic syllabus, which he likes, loves, and follows. A student is restricted to a given structured syllabus, even that he or she faces tough or faces troubles to complete. A learner learns for life. A student learns for the exam, or memorizes or rotes or whatever you can say, rote learning or whatever for the exam. A learner learns inside and beyond the classroom. A student is bothered with the content of the classroom, the minimum content and the minimum thing that he has to do to be in the system. A learner explores the world of learning. A student is forced into in a way in the world of learning. Many students have the learner in them unexplored. This is the time when exploring of that learning capacity of a student will actually evolve and emerge. Because now the restriction of the book as a gateway to knowledge, syllabus as a gateway to knowledge, teacher as the final authority on knowledge, these restrictions are going away. These restrictions are going away. Now learning can be aggregated even by the learner with or without the help of the mentor from multiple sources. And learning can be internalized if the learner is keen enough. And with more digital divide being bridged, this will increase further. And that will be one of the major key changes you'll see in the next 2 to 3 years. For the first time, a genuine learner will be differentiated from an unwilling student, because unwilling student can be forced inside the classroom. A genuine learner continues learning asynchronously also. Only on synchronous learning you can force a student, but you cannot force when it is asynchronous. When it is at the pace, at the time, and at the convenience of the learner. This convenience, the time and the pace will differ from person to person based on his or her interest and involvement. And therefore, we are moving to a concept called mentor-learner paradigm than teacher-student. Second, neither will face-to-face education emerge again the way it was in December 2019, nor will the pure digital education, in regular education at least, pure digital education will remain as it is today in December 2020. December 2021, just as December 2020 is different from December 2019, similarly, December 2021, mark my words, is going to be completely different from what it was, what it is today. Is going to be a world of physical plus digital, a world of blended and a world of hybrid learning. This jargon, 10 times you are perhaps listening in a day, you must be hearing in a day. But this jargon has to be internalized. This is no more a jargon now. Blended has to be the way we operate, not just teach and learn. The way we operate. Our relationships have to be now blended. We love it or hate it, that's reality. Some of the relationship is face-to-face. Some of the reality, part of the relationship is through the virtual medium. I'm not getting into that because it will lose out. Politics is becoming blended. Healthcare is becoming blended. Legal consultancy, legal consultation is blended. Entertainment, highly blended. Now it is digital-driven journalism, web entertainment-driven entertainment, and e-reputation, e-branding-driven brand communication. So even in case of entertainment and media, it's blended. Similar is the concept of teaching. In teaching, it will be, shall be, and it is already in the process of becoming blended. It's just a momentary situation that it is largely digital now, but it will not be only digital going ahead. It will be blended. So how do we do that? So suppose I have to teach atomic theory to class 10 students. Obviously, the level of atomic theory in class 10 will be different from what it would be otherwise in class 12 or in graduation of physics honors. It will be different. So the level that is possible and necessary for class 10 atomic theory, I will have to collect, aggregate learning resources. One, my video talk. And when my video talk is recorded, there has to be inserts of visuals about which I'm talking, related visuals, all of which are available online. Second, if I cannot do a video talk, at least my voice recorded in a brief manner, point by point, structured, whatever I want the student to learn as fundamental knowledge of atomic theory. Then I make a PowerPoint, so that PowerPoint. Then I search the web to find basic elementary atomic theory lectures in video, or demonstrations in video, on video, or slideshows, or a visual, a cartoon-based learning, a cartoon and infographics in a big way will come in education. So all these I aggregate, 6 or 7 items. 3 of the items might be mine, which is proprietary content, proprietary learning resource, and 3 or 4 is taken from the web, from other sources. There could be a good video of Rahul Chatterjee on the subject in the web, I take it. There could be a good PowerPoint in slide share by someone in USA, I take it. And that is where GIST teachers can really support one another. The GIST teachers can actually create, everyone would be good in some topics and themes, not in everything. So whatever best we do, we can actually create a pool, a knowledge bank, or creative content learning resource bank, which can be shared amongst all. But anyway, without going into that much. So I have to collect 3 or 4 items from the open source, 3 or 4 items of my own, which is proprietary, and open source is aggregated from open source. And then I have to put this together. I can take from Swayam, I can take from Nepal and many. And then I put them together and give to my batch 5 days before the class. The class can be online, class can be face-to-face. But 5 days before I give, with the clear instruction that you have to listen, read, and watch all this content before you come to the class. And note down the things that you don't understand. And those who are genuinely interested in that subject will take extra care to know them. The others may be doing it on the periphery. And when they meet you, if they meet you digitally, fine, like this as we are meeting, or they meet you physically, face-to-face going ahead, that time you take up not from the basics. You start by checking what they have understood. You start by having a quiz. You start by having a debate. You start by having a solution to a problem, if it is mathematics. Depending on the subject, there could be some engagement scenario, engagement mechanism by which we understand as a mentor how much of the subject has been comprehended by the batch in general. Obviously, the level of comprehension will be at variance from one to the other, but at least the minimum level will know. This testing itself will make education internalized better. We call it flipped classroom. And in this flipped classroom concept, people having got the content in advance, having read, watched, or saw, heard the content, would come and begin by engaging with the mentor, engaging with the peers on sharing that content, on sharing that learning. So there is no need to even check them out on, oh, you have understood, you are more intelligent. No need to do that. Because one topic someone will understand better, another subject, another topic, a different set of people will understand better. That is the nature. Every child cannot be good at the same thing in the same way as the current system presupposes. The current system presupposes a good student means is good in everything. It cannot happen that way. People are born with different DNAs. People are born with different inclinations. And therefore, let this be done. And let natural leadership emerge from students and not based on our marks, and those marks based on their memory. Internalization of knowledge is more important than delivery of information from one to the other. So we are moving towards that scenario. We are moving in this blended education towards that scenario. So synchronous, digitally or physically, and asynchronous with the learning resources by the learner at his end will merge or blend together, and that's blended learning. Without getting into too many detailing of it, yes, practice is important. Please start the practice immediately. If this week onwards, if you are going to teach one topic 5 days later, collect the data, make your own video, make your own audio, collect other learning resource and put it before the batch through the email, through the WhatsApp, through the learning management resource, LMS, learning management system, whatever you have, put it before the learner. You don't have to have a sophisticated learning management system like Blackboard or Collaborate or TCS Iron. We have taken TCS Iron, many people, but you don't have to necessarily. Small schools cannot afford to have few lakhs worth LMSs. So please don't believe in this technology that technology is the end of it. No, it is just a means to an end. The approach has to change, that I have to give the learning resources in advance to my learner. It can be even through WhatsApp, even through email, depending on all content may not go by WhatsApp. Fine, I understand that. Email, whatever forms. Yes, your learner has to be digitally connected. I will talk about that later. Digital divide, I will talk about that later. So, flipped classroom, innovations in blended times, very interesting. People, yes, very interestingly, I have seen one school is telling that all the student of a batch, class 6 or 7, I don't remember, 5 new words you learn, and in the WhatsApp group, put the 5 new words that you have learned every day. Whatever the words others have given, you cannot use those words. You have to find 5 new words, and you have to give the word its brief meaning and one sentence using that word. And thus, this particular system was a part of continuous assessment. Some marks was also there. In the process, the students actually saw all the words of the others, and then they went to the next. The condition was also that you cannot be using any word that has been used by your peers anytime in the last 30 days. So they were forced to go back repeatedly to see the words and their usages, and thereby, by default, a part of the vocabulary became stronger. And they made a vocabulary, personal dictionary, my personal dictionary, my batch dictionary. That was what was made online. So I saw one school, again, class 9 and 10, I think they did. They divided the whole science syllabus. Suppose 20 topics are there, 40 students are there. So 2 students are given one topic. They have to illustrate the topic with minimum words by using a graph or an infographic or a chart or a collage or a diagram or a picture or a model, and model which will be only made with things which are easily available, like cardboard, paper, pins, soil, plants, very simple things which you can get in your environment without running to a mall or super, any shop, big shop and all that. So this task, and everyone had to do only one topic. 2 students, one topic. First of all, these 2 students have to asynchronously collaborate. The group work is also increasing, asynchronously collaborate. And the teacher made the team like this, that the students who are smart in science were not paired with another smart, so-called smart student. They were consciously paired with someone who was not so strong in science, so that there is a mutual combination and flow of knowledge among them, between themselves as well. And each one was supposed to present that in a digital classroom, put that, the entire thing, images, video, whatever, on the WhatsApp group, and the best were supposed to be put up on the school Facebook. And that is your recognition that your work is great. And if it is not put on the school Facebook, then you are supposed to redo it till it comes to the level of being put up there. Sciences was learned so well in this process, so well. Internalization is the crux of education and not delivery of syllabus. It is good if you cannot deliver 20% of the syllabus, perhaps, though not desirable. But the remaining 80%, if it has been understood well, internalized well, that's very different. So innovations in blended times. Now that school has decided, my purpose is not to tell names of this school, that school, this university. That's not the purpose. My purpose is to share experiences, best cases, that's best practices. So that school has decided to put up an exhibition of all these which are good models or charts or whatever, in an exhibition open to parents and everyone in the first month of reopening of the school. And they're going to award 10 best models or 10 best charts like that from each batch, because the school has almost 100 students actually per batch, per class, into 2 or 3 segments, 3 segments normally. So the point what I'm trying to say is that there could be innovations in blended times. Innovations. I'll give an example of a university education. So it was on a Shakespearean literature. I do not remember the novel. Suppose, let's say King Lear. So a Shakespearean literature, the batch has 20 students. The mentor gave 20 ways of looking at King Lear and asked them to pick up any of these ways and develop the project around that. And they cannot pick up any topic which is already picked up by some others. So they were in a hurry. So what are these? King Lear in one chart. King Lear, one part of it in a video. King Lear, one part of it as a podcast. The costumes used in King Lear, in the costumes or the dress or attire, food habits and of the people during times of King Lear. Other, many. There was this the language used. What does the language used show about each character? So language, semantics, and sociology of that, because they were looking at gender rights and gender issues in King Lear. So the authoritarianism, what type of authoritarianism or monarchy is there? So there were 20 different categories of looking at the same novel from 20 different angles, and each one was tried to do that and present it online in online class. And the same thing, they had to submit it digitally, and there will be also awarding of some of the best and putting up as a show as well. So the point I'm trying to see is that these were unthought of, or these were in a way unthinkable. I mean, people could have thought of it, but these were not practiced during the pre-COVID days. These are some of the things that innovations have brought just now. Social media as a learning platform. First of all, we all banned mobiles in the classroom. Now our classroom is inside the mobile. First thing, the students are happy that we have been taught a lesson. We, the teaching community, has been taught a lesson for not making the mobile as a learning resource or a partner in education. Now it is already established. You yourself are asking every parent to get a smartphone for their child. You yourself are raising funds for the poorest children to get a smartphone. I know at least 1 million mobile movements that are going on across the world, across the country, India. 1 million mobile movements. They are just like we give our old clothes, which are otherwise not torn but only tied because we gather unnecessary fat as we grow up the ladder. So these clothes we give away for distribution. Similarly, people are giving away their old mobiles because the consumer's greed has taken us to the next model, but the earlier model is there, and people are now, and I know 2 movements at least. That's great. So similarly, can we make social media as a partner of education? The best projects on Facebook timeline of the school, the best videos of the pictures or what you call charts and all in the Insta timeline of the school, Instagram timeline. The more you bring the learners content, the more they share. The more they share, the more it becomes popular. In LinkedIn, go to the next level. The teachers' achievements. I'm not getting detail of that. Teachers' achievements in the blended times that can go actually on the LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a professional platform. Every school must have their every school must have their YouTube channel, and the best videos of the students can go. So this can be in a sense of self-competition, that only the best go there. So if the school shares your content, means it recognizes the quality of your content. That's great. That can be the criteria. So don't make students compete with the other. Let them compete with themselves. First, second, third is not important. Recognizing your work is only when we put your work up for public viewing. That means we have recognized. That means I'm competing with myself. My project wasn't good enough. I'm redoing it till Rahul sir accepts it and puts it up on the screen. Puts it up on digitally. So this whole value system has to change. Do not encourage competition. Competition is a 20th century decadent capitalist idea. Collaboration is the idea for tomorrow. Collaboration is the idea for tomorrow. This whole idea of private universities and private schools competing among themselves, sorry for the use of this word, it is a bullshit, old decadent marketing concept. Please do not get into that. Let's look at what I did yesterday. Can I do that better today? Can I do that better tomorrow? If as an institution it's true for me, it's true for an individual teacher, or a mentor, it's true for an individual learner. Please make them compete with their yesterday for a better tomorrow and not compete with others. Project-based learning, let it go deep in the system. Experiential learning, let it go deep in the system. Experiential brick and portal, that means learning by doing, experience. Brick and mortar is when we do face-to-face physically. particularly lab work and studio work, and click and portal, what we do digitally. Together, experiential brick and portal. I am still putting learning by doing as number one, learning face-to-face as number two, and learning online as the additional number third. It is now a very dominant one, I understand. Still, experiential brick and portal. Can we do that? Can we make them learning to learn? Because much of what they are learning, okay, it may not be true for school system. I'm talking about university. In university, whatever they are learning now, by the time they complete their post-graduation 5 years down the line, that knowledge is already obsolete. Those things are already gone. So the mind should be ready to learn new things. That can only happen if education is flipped classroom. If you force, in a way, system forces the student to first learn themselves, then learn from the mentor, then learn by doing, that means the habit of self-learning will grow. And learning to learn is a major 21st century skill. How can I learn on my own is a major 21st century. There are manuals available, there are guidelines available. Can I use that without someone telling me every time in my ears? Can I use that and learn? So that's another aspect. Also, evaluation. That point I would like to bring. This whole year-end or semester-end face-to-face written exam, number of pages determines the amount of knowledge. So more you write, more you get marks. These whole concepts are 20th century concepts. I know everyone, we don't do this way. Yes, spoon feed must go. Spoon feeding will go only if you bring flipped classroom and learning to learn methodology. If you bring, okay, I have taught you, we have discussed this, now you apply this in this context. Okay, we move forward. Evaluation. For the first time in school and university exam, open book education examination has to come. You need not be scared that they will copy from books or copy from Google. It is our duty to find non-Googleable questions. I know for school education, it may be a little tough at the younger age, but at the higher, in the sense, higher classes, 9, 10, 11, 12, surely for graduation, post-graduation, open book exam is must. And make the question such that verbatim cannot be copied from any book or any Google search. They can do the Google search, no problem. But then there's a time frame. The open book also has a fixed time. It cannot be overnight exam. So it can be only overnight exam if it is a completely applied question for which there is no previous template. Then it can be an overnight question. Otherwise, it has to be 3 hours question only, 3 hours exam only. So open book means by which people can take resort to any book, any portal, still they have to think. And if they have studied in advance, then only they can interpret, otherwise they cannot think. So open book is one. Apart from open book, there has to be formative and summative, both exams. Formative as you learn, summative after the end of a particular tenure of learning. So this open book, quiz, projects, presentation making, all these will be part of the education. The final exam writing may be just 25% and not more. We don't need so much of examination and so much of, so it can be just 25%. So redundancy, there is a huge amount of redundancy in our courses, in our syllabi. We need to really look at that and how this redundancy can be completely taken away. We are scared that students are not, paying attention. They will put the digital platform on, audio, video off. They will do anything. That one, whatever you do, one section will still do that. They are doomed to fail. Is fine. It's fine. The society cannot ensure 100% compliance. So don't bother about that. The point is, let's look at ourselves. I am having 22% average attendance, but when Rahul sir has class, he has 82% attendance. And when he takes, people are all on video and people are eager to answer his questions. That there is a difference between my methodology, my pedagogy, my content, and Rahul sir's ways. I need to learn that. But I am egoist. I am a university professor. I have PhD. I have MPhil. Rahul sir does not have. So I have an ego. That ego is what I called at the beginning, sorry again to utter, is simply bullshit. This will not be of any worth going to for students. This will be good worth amongst us, amongst peers, the degrees and the names of the organizations we have worked and all. What will matter to the learner is, can you engage me? Can you engage me creatively? Can you engage me with videos, with graphics, with animation, with example by asking me? Can you engage me by making me do things and then come to the class or to the discussion? Can you engage me synchronously, asynchronously? Can you engage me digitally, physically? Can you engage me experientially and finding things on my own? Do you encourage me when I go from structured syllabus to organic syllabus? That means I search myself knowledge. Do you encourage me? So the point, we have to be mentor, come friend, a sort of partner in co-learning. In a way, partner in co-learning. Whatever I've said, many of us have not made their self videos ever in life, just beginning maybe now. Many of us have not made podcasts ever in life. We might have made plain PPTs, but can we make PPTs with animated PPTs? Can we make the PPTs colorful, not just black and white? Can we make not just multiple color? Color also has a science. I'm not getting into that. Can we bring design thinking in what we say, speak, do, make? A design thinking with aesthetics involved. So can we do that? Then that needs for me to understand advanced PowerPoint making, that embedded video, embedded audio, embedded internet. So I need to go to the next level. Am I ready to do that? Am I ready at 54 years of age to relearn with a 21-year-old guy, from a 21-year-old guy? Am I ready to do that? Many of us, deep into our that adds A in the stem, a stem. Yeah, I agree. So many of us deep in our ego are not mentally open. Yes, times are changing. We will be forced to open. But do we respond to a change being forced or voluntarily? Or voluntarily? So we need to do it voluntarily. I would not go further. I will end by the last point, bridging the digital divide. I understand the easiest thing, I'm sorry if I am sometimes sounding rude. Many of us do not want to get into these new things that we need to do on the plea, most of my students don't have smartphones. What can I do? The boys and girls don't have good connectivity. There's no I understand that. The boys and girls may not have the good connectivity. They may not have smartphones. But what is the right way at this point of time? The right thing is to go to the next level of blended learning. Right thing is to make technology your partner. Right thing is to collaborate and not compete. Now, these are the right things to do. Internalize and not transfer of knowledge, but internalization of knowledge. So these are the one side. The other side is the problem. Now, do you make the problem to silence what is needed, or you use what is needed to solve the problem? It is a thinking. It's a question of thinking, mindset, preference. So while we need to solve the problem of digital divide, it does not mean that the new normal dictating a blended education or physical education with a completely different style of syllabus making, delivery of education. So there are four things: creating content, delivery of content, engaging the learner, evaluating the learner. All the four have to completely change. Creating content, the delivery of content, engaging the learner, and evaluating the learner. I'll not get it'll big time it will take, but all the four will need a change. And for all the four to need a change, I must change as a education administrator. We must change as mentors first, before we expect the learners to change. Learners are changing, mind you, they are catching up with digital faster than us. Please believe that even a class 8, 7, 8 student also are moving on to the digital faster than us, because they are in a different mind space, they're in a different time. Anyway, coming back, the last thing I was telling, the digital divide. New education policy calls for 6% of GDP in education. Very welcome. By the way, it was also promised by Rajiv Gandhi's new education policy in 1984 and never done. In India, the education budget has never crossed 3% of the GDP. You are calling for 6%, great, but let's see it being done. We have seen one set of governments not having done it. Let's see this government do it now. And this additional 3%, don't waste for buildings. Don't waste for just giving money to some people where there need not be, their skills may not be required. The point what is required here is digital access of the learner. So if 3% is X lakhs crores, these X lakhs crores may please be spent for creating digital access in the country, for giving digital access to each student. At one point of time, government had given television set in every panchayat office. If you remember, at one point in time, free of cost. Let government gives laptops, computers, tablets to students now. People have started. At one time, UP government earlier had started this, then stopped in between. So if there is a mass scale production of tablets, it can come to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 rupees also. Let there be actually bringing in access down to the last person. That's one. Let CSR. Government has made 2% of profit compulsory for CSR now. Can this be made CSR to create digital access for those who don't have digital connectivity? Can this 2% completely go there? Rather than going to PM cares and nobody knows where the money has gone, and you can't even put up an RTI to know where the money has gone, because I hope you know that there is a government, there's a flip-flop. It is a government body, but still you cannot get under RTI the details of it. So let CSR be spent for digital divide. Let the additional 3% be spent for digital divide. Let every school raise internally some funds. You and I give a one-day salary, whatever, for our own students. If they are not having a smartphone, let us give them a smartphone. Let us tie up with smartphone companies to produce a student version, simpler, easier, which is good for education and cheaper. Let telecom companies come out with a student and teachers version of package. Waise net cost in India low, but there could be even thought on that as well. And NGOs are already doing 1 million mobile movements. At least 2 NGOs are doing, I know that. There can be many more such steps. Civil society, corporate, government, all three must combine and consider this movement of creating digital connectivity, including Wi-Fi, including smartphone, everything, as a national emergency. Why am I saying in the month of May, Government of India's HRD ministry, then HRD now, and UNESCO, actually ministry was put for India, 52, 3 million, 283 million students just now in India. And out of these, 52% were completely out of education for the lockdown period and the few months after that. Even now, most of them are out. Is the 48% that I and you are talking to. And out of that 48%, the UNESCO report says 21% has good quality connectivity, which can download videos or talk and participate. The remaining 48 minus 21, which is I think 27, this 27% doesn't have even good quality connectivity. It's occasional, 1 hour a day, couple of hours, or low 2G, 3G, or sometimes coming, sometimes going. So this is the status. This requires real urgent care. If 90% people at least in the next 12 months are not digitally connected, we will have not only digital haves and have-nots, we will have another haves and have-nots of education, another category of haves and have-nots of education. So this is a movement each school has to do, university has to do, and corporate has to do, and NGO has to do, and finally the government has to do. Unfortunately, the governments of the day are more interested in elections rather than education, more interested in elections rather than vaccines. The debate amongst us is, unfortunately and sadly, the debate we spend so much of time debating who will be the CM face, Mukul or Dilip Ghosh or Suvendu, rather than talking on things which need change at the grassroots level. These debates are useless for us. These debates beyond the point are useless. You want to give vote to anyone you give, that's fine. But what is significant is asking through all possible means the government to spend more on education in digital connectivity, making the NGOs in your society, in your surroundings, making your own school at least empower 10 students with digital connectivity, with a smartphone, with a tab, asking the companies, the telecom companies, to invest more in connectivity. So these are actually the needs rather. So roti, kapda, makan, shiksha, swasth, 5 things are required for a dignified life. The 6th is also now equally important to the other 5, digital access. And digital access, digital connectivity is the new human right. If we want to deprive a people, disconnect their internet, you can just deprive the people. Now you can understand the agony of the people of Kashmir. When they work for the greater part of the year without any
Hello, Shobhashachida. So maybe network problem.
হ্যাঁ নেটওয়ার্কের প্রবলেম আছে, শোনা যাচ্ছে আমার কথা?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
আই এম সরি, আমার নেটওয়ার্কের প্রবলেম
Rahul ji,
হচ্ছে।
yeah, Rahul ji and
স্যারকে বলুন কিছু, যদি রাহুলকে বলুন যদি কিছু কোশ্চেন থাকে স্যার ডিসকাস করবেন, তারপরে এন্ড আপ যদি 2-4 মিনিট কিছু।
কিছু শুনতেই পাচ্ছি না।
How I became a host. Yeah.
রাহুল হোস্টে আছে, রাহুল হোস্টে আছে।
না না,
I can see myself as a host.
No,
I wondered
so
how I became a host.
yeah, so you were the first joining. You joined in the for the first time in this session. That's why now you are the host. So,
oh my God.
So now you can hand over it to Shobhashachida or just wait for, yeah, Rahul da joined.
I'm not able to see him to give him.
So you need to check the entry. Yeah.
I gave him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I had lost connectivity.
Suddenly I got scared how Rahul left it and I became the host.
No, I just lost connectivity all of a sudden.
Don't want that.
Hello.
Where is?
Hello, Rahul.
Yes.
Rahul. ওনার কানেক্টিভিটি লস এখন আর উনি পারবেন না, আপনি এটাকে ইয়ে করে দিন। উনি তো আউট অফ স্টেশন ছিলেন, ওখান থেকে বলছিলেন কানেক্টিভিটি, আমাকে ফোনে জানালেন কানেক্টিভিটি ইয়ে হয়ে গেছে। And he has almost completed
at the same time.
হ্যাঁ, বললেন যে এরপরে যদি কিছু ডিসকাশন আপনারা যদি কিছু ডিসকাশন করেন 2-4 মিনিট ডিসকাশন করে নিতে পারেন এর উপরে, and you can end it up.
Yes, we can take the question from the audience and later we'll pass it to him.
Yes.
And based on his feedback, we can reach out to the person.
Right. But before all of that, I'd like to take this opportunity, even though he's not here with us, even online, to thank him from the depth of our heart, from the India chapter and also from GEIST overall. This kind of clarity in thought can only happen. I mean, this kind of clarity in presentation can only happen when there is clarity in thought. And this clarity of thought can only come when someone has been practicing these things and talking about these things and thinking about these things for a long time. Really, really eye-opener and ahead of the times. He has repeatedly in his presentation mentioned, mark my words, and he's absolutely convinced that this will be the norm and this is what is going to happen in a year's time and in the future. So I'm sure all of us will be in good stead if we take his words seriously and mold our teaching styles accordingly. Thank you very much, learning experience and an absolutely wonderful session. Thank you for sparing your time with us. Right, and as you all said, if there are questions, we can certainly take these questions, and I request all of you to put the questions in the chat box, and we forward these questions to him. Because I lost connectivity, I've lost the entire chat history. So whatever I can see now is only if there are others who have the entire history, and if there are questions earlier to 7:49, please copy paste to them and keep them safe. Right. If there is any other point that anyone wants to just bring up as a point of discussion, let us have that, else we will wind up.
Rahul ji.
Hanji.
I want to say one thing, and that I have forgotten, that we must also take care of the teachers who are suffering from the COVID-19.
Absolutely.
We are saying our teachers are the COVID warriors, and we should take care of them. Welfare of the teachers is also our responsibility. Because the moment we are saying all these things, I think it is our personal responsibility or the responsibility of the leadership to take care of their stakeholders.
True, absolutely true.
I do agree, Dr. Sharma, to what you said. Definitely, it is a big responsibility on the leadership. We are talking about mental health of the students, but we also need to make sure that teachers, they don't get burnt out. If the teachers, they get burnt out, then nobody is going to gain anything. So we must be careful about that, well-being of the teachers, so that they also get good time, good sleep. Certain things are so many important. Everybody were under stress, huge stress initially. Now, if slowly people are getting them adjusted to this new normal situation, we need to make sure that everybody feels comfortable in whatever they're doing. As it is, we are missing the warmth of being with the students, that is a big loss. The virtual classes, whatever it gives, cannot give one thing for sure, that is the warmth of the students.
Not
Being with
just
them.
the warmth of the students, but the warmth of the colleagues too.
Yeah, of course, of
Being able
course.
to talk to each other, being able to share things with each other, which sometimes people don't share with the family. And the timings have stretched out. So no time for food, no time for sleep, no time for any TV, meeting at night, meeting in the day. No, a teacher will die before a student can be taught.
Madam, that this I have mentioned in my discussion that human touch is missing.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It is really missing, because without human touch, human warmth, without warmth, you cannot do anything. It is real education that we are giving to the children. And you know, sometimes when the children are coming and we are holding their hand and we are telling them, it's really, it gives immense pleasure.
Immense pleasure. Yes.
And sometime when they are teaching us, sir, this is the right, not the right thing. The this computer is not working in this way. They tell us that how it can work.
Correct.
So that correct way of doing the things, because they are far ahead in technology than us. So when they teach us, they become very happy.
That, sir, they can teach us now, but teachers should have time for relaxing and some free time for being with themselves, which is not happening now.
Definitely, ma'am. Fully agree. Fully agree.
Right. I think on that note, we can wind up today's session and see you all again tomorrow for the last day's sessions. And I'm sure they will be just as meaningful and as fruitful. So wind up today's session.
Rahul, তুমি end up করে দাও with a thanks for all the participants, especially for the international participants who have of different time zones. Yes. আমার ইয়ে থেকে হ্যাঁ
Okay, so thank you. See you tomorrow, the last day of the conference. So there are many amazing events tomorrow. We have a session with 24 students, so 25 students from 24 countries will join in a dialogue tomorrow evening. So it will be an wonderful session. So I would like to request you to be there and also join other session. It will be a day-long session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you all those of you who have joined from other countries, braving all the time zones. And yes, Ms. Bose?
I said the sessions were enriching and interesting to keep us whole day busy. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.